Hello, I'm Max and you're watching the Welcome to Euphoria YouTube channel. Here you'll find updates on my Lego City that you see behind me, information about my own designs, builds and MOCs, and lots of other Lego related content. Recently I designed and built this half modular building, the Corner Deli. It's only a half modular, but it's built as a corner. Most corner modulars are on a full 32 by 32 base plate. So because this is only on a 16 by 32 stud base plate, or a half modular, the building itself is quite small. Now this is a left-handed corner, so it can't really be placed either way round like a full corner modular building. I built it as a left-handed building because I thought that way there'd be more options for it in my Lego City. So why not join me now in this video as we try to work out how and where to put this new MOC in my Lego City. You may have seen my videos on this channel about Lego City planning. In these I explain how I use these maquettes, or little models of my modular buildings, to plan the layout of my city. So I'm going to use that technique for planning where to place this new building. Now I haven't yet made a maquette of the new building, the Corner Deli, so let's just start by making one of those. My maquettes are built on a 4x4 plate for a full modular building, but as this is only a half modular building, it will be built on a 2x4 plate, and that represents a 16 by 32 stud base plate. Now some of the space is taken up by the pavement or sidewalk round the side and at the front, so the actual building is only going to be 1 by 3 studs. Here is the maquette or little model. It's obviously tiny and it doesn't let me include lots of detail in the maquette, but that's okay. It only has to be recognisable in the context of the city layout and the other buildings. It's really more like a chess piece than a proper model. So, like chess pieces, I can move these little models around to try out different ideas for the layout of the city, and in this case, options for the position of this specific building. There are a couple of options for placing this building in the old town part of my Lego City without changing everything around in that part of the layout. The first idea would be to replace the brownstone townhouse at the back of the layout next to the town hall and behind the old astronomical clock tower. Even though it's at the back of the layout, that would show off the Corner Deli quite well, although you wouldn't really be able to see the record shop on the ground floor and the yellow building on the left hand side, because it would be hidden pretty much behind the old astronomical clock tower, which is itself quite tall. It would provide a narrow alley from the side of the town hall to the back of Tower Street, and although it's not connected to the astronomical clock, which is designed as a corner building, I don't think there'd be much room between the two, and it certainly wouldn't allow much light into the big windows of the apartment above the shop. So I'm not really keen on this option. I don't think it really shows the building off to best advantage, and it doesn't logically kind of fit really in that position. Another position in the old town would be to replace the Katie Corner house, again at the back of the layout, but this time directly on Tower Street. That's not really in keeping with the idea of the old town centre, as it's not a particularly old looking building, although the bank itself, which sits next door, is not that old, so perhaps it could fit in this corner okay. But the Katie Corner house, as it's built at the moment, is placed on a full 32 by 32 stud base plate, and the Corner Deli is only built on a half base plate, so that would mean I have half a base plate spare over in this space at the back of the layout. I could push the Corner Deli right to the back and have half a base plate spare in front of it, but at the moment I'm not sure what I do with that half a base plate. And anyway, I actually have another idea to replace the Katie Corner house, so I'm not really sure about this position for the Corner Deli either. So although both of these options for a position in the old town might be possible, I don't really think they show off the Corner Deli to its best advantage, and I'm not really sure that they logically fit with the rest of the old town either. Let's see if we could find a place for this building facing onto the main plaza. There are a couple of options here. The first one would be again at the back of the layout, between the new town hall and this large office building, which is called the Ensgrave building. The Corner Deli could replace the little green space that's currently in that position. The deli itself would actually be in quite an advantageous position, where it would face onto the corner of the main square or Harmonia Plaza, and from the square it would be quite visible. Actually, that might be quite a nice position. It would still be visible from the main viewpoint for the city, and as it's quite a tall building, it would be able to hold its own against the other quite tall buildings around it. The bright colours would stand out well, and it wouldn't be blocking anything behind it. The record shop and the apartment above the shops would be quite close to the side of the town hall, and there'd just be a little narrow alley between the Corner Deli building and the town hall building, but it does leave a little space there, and in the city centre I think space would be pretty much at a premium anyway. In that position it would also fill in the back of the layout quite well, so that it's not quite so obvious that there's a blank wall behind it. The only downsides I can see to this position are that the style of the building doesn't really go with the massive office building next door, but then in a city centre environment you might well have a large office building built right next to a more traditional style building. And it is perhaps a shame to kind of relegate this building right to the back of the layout, but I think the colours and style of the building and the size of it mean that it wouldn't get too lost in this position. Now let's look at another option for placing this building on the plaza. This would mean placing the building right at the front of the layout on this corner to replace the townhouse and apartment cafe MOC that's there at the moment. That, of course, would mean moving things around a bit in this part of the city. So we're going to have a look at how we could rearrange this area. In fact, let's get those buildings out of the layout and have a play with them over here. So I've brought the townhouse and apartment cafe MOC and the corner deli MOC over here to the build table, and we can have a look at how these buildings might work together. Now they're kind of similar in style in that both of these MOCs are made up of two smaller buildings, although of course the corner deli is only on a half base plate, whereas the townhouse and apartment cafe is on a full base plate. And both of these buildings are kind of organised as corner buildings. The townhouse and apartment cafe is a true corner because it could be positioned either way round, whereas the corner deli, because it's only a half corner modular, can only really be positioned kind of one way round. So for these two buildings together, really what I have is a 1.5 base plate unit with the two buildings fitting together in a certain way. Of course, if I rebuilt the corner deli as a mirror image, so it was a right hand corner, it would be able to go on the other side of the main corner modular. But that was a design choice that I took early on to make it into a left hand corner. Anyway, keeping it this way means that the only way this goes on the layout is that the corner deli would face directly onto the main plaza, with the record shop facing the plaza itself, the deli on the corner at the front of the layout, and the existing corner apartment and townhouse building having to face the other way. That wouldn't look too bad from the front, although it does mean that the blank back of the corner deli building is rather visible next to the little tiny yellow townhouse, and also it means that the apartment cafe building is now facing the other way towards the business district. Now, because this site is at the front of the layout, I can easily try this out using the actual MOCs, so let's transfer these back to the city. That looks okay visually, and the corner deli does look pretty good at the front of the layout. But it does mean that I'd have to move the tables and parasols for the apartment cafe away from the main plaza, and it's difficult to find room for them somewhere else. So I don't think the apartment cafe would be happy without them, and I rather like the splash of colour they bring to the main Harmonia Plaza. So this position for the deli is an option, but at the moment it's not really my favourite option. It would also be possible to turn the townhouse and apartment cafe MOC round so that it joins directly onto the side of the pet shop. But that would leave the half modular deli corner standing on its own, which doesn't feel right. Putting the yellow townhouse and apartment cafe back in position on the main plaza leaves us with one other obvious option, which would be to place the corner deli here, right next to the pet shop. That would be quite a good position, where the corner deli is visually very prominent, right at the front of the layout, and it still leaves a little tiny passageway for minifigs to get down past the record shop and through into Skyline Plaza. On the other hand, the apartment windows look straight out at the blank side wall of the other apartment building next door, and the corner deli itself is quite tall, especially with the roof garden on top, and so it would kind of visually block the view from this side of the layout of Skyline Plaza and the business district. One final option for this area would be to move the pet shop next to the apartment cafe and put the corner deli right at the edge of the layout. The apartment windows still look out at a blank wall, this time the side of the pet shop, but it is a better position for the record store, right on Skyline Plaza. This building actually aligns quite well with the office building next door, and it doesn't block the view of Skyline Plaza quite as much. So I think this position is also a viable option, or at least a possible option, but it's not really my favourite one either. So after all that consideration, where are we going to place my new Corner Deli MOC in the city? Well, for me, the position at the back, between the Town Hall and the Ensgrave building, seems to be the best. So let's try physically moving the little green space out and placing the Corner Deli in that position in the city. It seems to fit in there quite snugly. I don't think it's overpowered by the large buildings on either side, although of course there's only a very narrow gap at the side between the Corner Deli building and the Town Hall building. As I said before, from a minifigure's point of view, it positions the deli really well on the corner of the main plaza, and from the external observer's point of view, the building is pretty visible from the normal viewpoint at the front of the city. It fills in the back of the layout quite well, so that it's not so obvious that there's a blank wall behind it. What do you think about these different options for positioning this building? Did I get it right? Part of the fun of having a Lego city is adding things to it and being able to move them around. This is made very much easier if you have modular buildings, and that's one of the main advantages of having modular buildings in the first place. Maybe in the future, if I move the city round even more, there'll be other options for placing this building, but they would definitely fall into the category of future changes. So for now at least, that's where the little Corner Deli is going to sit in the Lego city of Harmonia. I hope you enjoyed joining me in this video about my Lego city and the new Corner Deli MOC, so please hit that like button if you did like it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so that you don't miss out on any updates on LEGO sets, modular buildings, my own designs and builds, updates on my LEGO City and other LEGO related stuff.